Um, welcome. Welcome back. It's an honor and privilege to serve in the Congress, and it's certainly an honor and a privilege to be on this committee and to chair this committee. I look forward to a productive, vibrant discussion. We've got a lot of weighty topics over the next 2 years that we will address, and I want to thank the members in advance for their participation, their service, and their commitment. And the host of witnesses, we've laid out, I think, a pretty good agenda, but this committee also is one that will react when events happen along the way. And I want to thank in advance our ranking member, Mr. Cummings. I'm very blessed to have a good working relationship with him. We obviously don't agree on all the issues, not even necessarily the majority of the issues. But I have the greatest respect for the ranking member and his perspective. And if we're going to do the country right and do the country justice, we're going to do this together, and we're going to listen to each other, not talk past each other, and hopefully not just flail and put on a show, that we're actually doing things. And Mr. Cummings talks about this repeatedly, and life is too short on this earth. We actually want to get some stuff done, and this is an opportunity. The name of this committee is the Oversight and Government Reform, and I hope that we live up to the duty and obligation that we have on both sides of the oversight and the government reform. We often focus on the oversight, but I see a great opportunity in the 115th Congress to also engage in lots of the reform aspects of the Congress. One of the things I'm deeply concerned about is the national debt. It's hard to fathom what $20 trillion looks like. But obviously, the path we're on is unsustainable. Time and again, this committee has heard from inspectors general, we've heard from the Government Accountability Office, we've heard from whistleblowers, and we hear about waste, fraud, and abuse throughout the federal government. We have a lot of good, hard-working, patriotic federal workers, and you'll hear me say that time and time again, but there are some bad apples out there, and there are some people that are wasting some money in doing those types of things. They're doing those things that they really shouldn't be doing. So we're going to pursue a robust legislative agenda aimed at reforming how this government does business. One of the things we'll be looking at is long overdue civil service reform. As I said, a lot of good quality employees doing the right thing, but everybody gets harmed. The citizens, the taxpayers, co-workers, you name it. When we have people that engage in nefarious or unseemly behavior, it hurts everybody, and we need to be able to address those more swiftly. In particular, the committee heard in the last Congress a lot about sexual misconduct and sexual harassment. Yet as we go out and look into how the executive branch works, you're going to find a terrible inconsistency on table of penalties, definitions. That is something right here at the beginning we would like to address. I think we'll find good bipartisan support on how we address that. We're also going to work on, the President has already issued a hiring freeze, and we're going to, I think, engage in that as well. I support and applaud the President for the overall goal, but let's also understand there are certain departments and agencies that do need more employees. We have spent considerable time, for instance, dealing with Secret Service. There are about 1,000 agents and officers short. We have to address the IT situation. Attracting and retaining IT personnel is of key interest to this committee. And certainly at the Veterans Administration, there are things that we have to deal with as well. We also will be looking at the federal retirement system. In our state of Utah, we made the transition from a defined benefit program to a defined contribution program. It was good for the state employees. It was great for the financial books in the long term. We have a duty and obligation to live up to the obligations that federal employees have been earning. But as we look at new generations of people entering the federal workforce, you'll see the committee address this, which is part of our jurisdiction. We also have the need for postal reform. Now, postal reform, I don't think necessarily Ms. Lawrence probably campaigned on it, but there are probably not many others that campaigned on postal reform. But I can tell you and I can assure you that it's something that affects literally every single American. And they're on a financial trajectory that is unsustainable, and we need to engage in bipartisan postal reform. We passed out of the 114th Congress unanimously a bill that is a good starting point. Hopefully it's very similar. I can't tell you exactly what it's going to look like, but postal reform in a bipartisan way that gets to the President's desk is something that is certainly a goal for this committee. We will work continuously on government transparency. We passed out FOIA reform, Freedom of Information Act. It was a good accomplishment in the 114th Congress, but we need to make sure that that is sustained and that it is executed the way it should be. And then we also need to look at the acquisition, the federal acquisition system. I know that Mac Thornberry, the Chairman of Armed Services, is looking at acquisition reform, particularly as it relates to armed services, but it is something that we will spend time on. There are literally hundreds of billions of dollars that should be addressed. I want to also thank in advance and applaud what Mr. Hurd and Mr. Conley have done with the Modernizing Government Technology Act, something that we will address sooner rather than later. Dealing with the IT issues, something that our committee is uniquely situated for, and we've had good bipartisan work to make that happen. There are other reforms and certainly investigations, but I want every member to know, as certainly the ranking member, we're a phone call away, if not a visit away, and anybody on either side of the aisle, I would love to chat with them and want to make sure I'm highly accessible. We are about to address a rules package on which we've worked very closely with the minority. I do anticipate there will be a few amendments. It's essentially the same rules package as we had the last Congress. We had to do some conforming with an adjustment to the House rules. We also had some tweaks and adjustments that we had to do in updating the subcommittee names as we have tweaked those along the way. Again, I look forward to working with people on both sides of the aisle, and I'd now like to recognize the ranking member, Mr. Cummings.